Hello. Well, back again. It's going to be the first video after the Cebu videos, and I've been kind of deciding how to make this video because, long story short, I've got some footage from Mindanao, which I had to go to, and I've been thinking about how to sort of explain why I was there because I didn't really want to go into it too much, but the basic idea is that I told you there was someone back in Manila. That was great. It was really good, but something had happened there and she had gone back to her home in Mindanao and there was issues with her family and stuff going on with that, which caused problems with the relationship. And I went down to Mindanao to try and fix that. Long story short, it didn't work out and that was the end of that. But she's great. I can't speak highly enough of her, but I'm not going to go into who she is or what she is or anything about that because it wouldn't be fair. But that gives you the reasoning why I was in Mindanao. Whilst I was there, we went and had a look at a few places. There was a few things over the time that we'd been together that she had shown me from down there in the photos where she'd been before, and they were places that I wanted to go and see. So I went and visited some of those whilst we were there, and yeah, some other places that I hadn't heard of before, which I went and visited whilst I was there. Again, mostly waterfalls and things like that. So if you're into that, that's what this video is going to be about, just the places that I visited whilst I was down there. Anyway, as I said, I wish her the best, but not something I'm going to be talking about in any way anymore. Cool. Hope we get into the video and enjoy it. All right, so the first place, there's this place called, I think it's called Laswitan Lagoon. Laswitan, I think that's how you say it. Probably not. I'm probably going to butcher everything as I'm talking on these with the names and whatnot, but it is what it is. So I'd seen videos of this place from her before and it looked awesome. So it's basically rock pools that you can go and swim in and everything like that. And they're really nice, but there's a big high part of the rock pool that fronts onto the ocean basically. And so if you go there when there's been like a typhoon or big storms or something happening, or there's big swells of wave swells, they'd come in, they'd hit the back of this rock wall and make this huge big sort of explosion of water that would go high up into the sky and then fall back over the rocks into the rock pools. Exciting and looks amazing when it's doing that. So I wanted to go and have a look, but unfortunately when I went there, there'd been no storms or anything like that. So we went down and had a look, you can see, but it doesn't look all that impressive when you go there and there's not much going on. So I'd like to go back. At some point in time, I'm going to go back to Mindanao because this trip, obviously for me, I wasn't so focused on traveling and seeing everything. And I feel like I missed a lot of stuff and it's beautiful there, like amazingly nice. And there's so many good places to see. I'd like to go back there to the rock pools there when it is going off because I'd like to see that. That'd be pretty cool. From there, we went down to a place called Enchanted River and wow. That is like nothing I've ever seen in my life anywhere before. You pretty much pull up and the first place you walk out into for this, it's basically a river that is like an underground river, I believe, that's coming out just near the beach into like mangroves and all that sort of stuff and then leads down to the beach. But where it comes out, I think it's like 30 meters deep or something at that point they said, or maybe it's 20 meters. It's very deep, but it's crystal clear and the water is like this, like a sapphire blue. I don't know how to explain it. You can see it's the most just crystal clear, beautiful blue water you've ever seen anywhere. And the color of it, the video doesn't do it justice. It looks amazing in the video, but it's not, it's better than that. In real life, it's like nothing. I promise you've never seen anything like it before. It's amazing. And you can see the fish swimming around in it and they do like a little show where they show you the fish getting fed sometimes, I believe, but I didn't see that part of it. And then from there, the river goes down and I think it gets more shallow and that blue color becomes a lot less prominent, but it's still a beautiful sort of greeny blue color. And there's a big whole area you can swim in, which is really nice as well. And then there's like a walk you can do along the edge of the river all the way down. And then there's places down there where you can hire boats and whatnot for a day and go out to do like little island hopping stuff and things like that, which I didn't do. Again, I'd like to go back and do that at some point. I didn't do it, but it looked pretty cheap. I can't remember the exact pricing, but I think I took a picture of it or a video of it, so I'll put that up on the screen to have a look at as well if I did. I don't remember it being overly expensive. I think you could take like 6 people or 8 people per boat, and it might have only been, I don't know, like 2,000 pesos or 5,000 pesos. I don't know. It wasn't much. I remember thinking that, well, that's cheap. Anyway, it'd be cool to do that as well. I've seen videos of her doing that with her family and stuff, and it looks really cool. So at some point, I'm going to go back, do most of that eastern coast of Mindanao. I'm not so sure about going further west because, you know, there's some unrest in those areas, I believe. But definitely down the east coast, it looks amazing, and there's plenty of places I'd like to go and visit there. From there, we were going to a place called, I think it's called Tinu-an or Tinu-an Falls. Anyway, it's near Bislig. So we went into the town, the city there, had a bit of a look around, but I think it was raining that day quite a lot. In fact, a lot of the time we were there, it was raining quite heavily. And we were very lucky that it had rained all the time until we'd get to, say, Enchanted River, and then we'd have like 2 hours where it just didn't rain, which was when we were there. And then it rained all the way back home again. And then like the next day or 2 days later, we went to these falls, and we'd get there and it would rain all the way there. And then we'd get there and we'd get out and you'd walk into the falls, and it would just happen to stop raining. Every time pretty much we got to a place, it would rain until we get there, and then we'd walk in and it wasn't raining. We'd spend our time there taking photos and videos and whatnot, and then walk back out, get in the car, and 5 minutes later it'd start raining again. So we're pretty lucky with the timing of it all. These falls are pretty amazing. They're pretty like massive falls. I mean, you can see the videos of them here. It's quite beautiful, cheap to get in. I can't remember how much. It might have been 20 peso or something like that. I don't know. It was very cheap. Maybe it was 200 peso. I don't really remember, but I remember it being cheap. I've got to say that when I went to the rock pools, we were literally the only people there. And when I went to the Enchanted River, there was other people there, obviously. In fact, there was quite a lot of people there, but I didn't see any other foreigners there at all. I'm sure foreigners go there. I know that they do because I've seen in videos, I've seen other foreigners there, but when I went there was none. If that makes any difference to you, it's more of, all of these places felt like more of local places. Probably the Enchanted River was the most popular touristy type place that was full of people. So these Tinu-an Falls, it was quite popular. There's a fair few people there, but it was all locals again. And realistically, it was me and one other person there that were the only foreigners that were there. And the guy that I was with at that point, who was traveling with me as well, he's from Australia. Well, he's from Singapore, but he lives in Australia. But everyone thought he was local there. He got spoken to in Bisaya constantly and had to turn around and go, I don't speak Bisaya. Everyone thought he was a local. So really, I was the only one who looked like a foreigner in every place we went. But that was cool. I don't mind. Anyway, the waterfall there was pretty amazing. Trying to like walk across to get like these nice photos of it from the middle was a little sketchy because it had been raining a lot. So there was some pretty slippery, muddy areas and whatnot. But it's good. It's definitely worth visiting. They were pretty nice falls. The fact that it had been smashing rain for like the whole week pretty much meant that they were really just pumping water over them. And so I assume normally people would go there and go swimming and stuff like that, but I reckon it might have been a little sketchy to swim in that at this point in time because it was there was a lot of water. Let's just say that. The next one we went to, which was the same day as that one as well, was this falls called Bega Falls, because we were staying up near we're staying up in Tandag, which is kind of near to the place where she was from. So we were staying in Tandag. So we'd driven all the way down to go to these first falls, and on the way back, we sort of went up to these bigger falls. It had started to get, not dark yet, but it was smashing rain down and whatnot. So we got there kind of at the end of the day, and I'd heard that there was some civil unrest in one of the areas nearby to kind of where we were traveling through that day. And so, well, I knew that something had been going on at some point. What I didn't find out until maybe the day after or a couple of days after that there had been some sort of fight or battle, I don't know what you want to call it, some sort of localized thing going on between military and other people there apparently, which was an area which literally we drove through on the same day when that was happening. I didn't hear anything or see anything, and it seemed completely fine, safe for us. We stopped there at a petrol station, got some fuel and that, and it seemed completely fine to us. We didn't even know about it until days later. But I was aware that you have to be a little bit careful, obviously just getting yourself off the beaten track sometimes. And so heading to Bega Falls, it's kind of up into the mountains. Obviously it's a waterfall, but it's like we're going in there and it's getting almost starting to get dark, and the roads are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and less traffic. And I'm getting a little bit more sort of, wow, are we in the right spot? Is this going to be safe type thing? I'm not 100% sure of this. And then finally we found the place, and yeah, well, I mean, we got there and there was a caretaker, and it was like a boom gate and it was closed. And so we pulled up and he didn't speak any English, and my Bisaya is, well, I'm trying to learn it actually, and I'm getting slowly better, but it's nowhere near good enough. But it was good enough for me to explain that we wanted to go down there, asked to pay, and for him to tell me that there was no one down there, no lifeguards, no one to make sure it was safe, but we can go if we really wanted. So we went. And that's quite a lot of steps getting in there. But it was cool. It was good. I liked it a lot. You can see videos of the different levels of it and everything like that. That one as well, water's hammering over it. But to get to the spot where I wanted to take a picture or video from, you kind of needed to wade out into the river after the waterfall. So the waterfall comes over, there's a big lake pool bit, and then the water is running down the river. And you kind of had to step on slippery rocks to get across. And there was a spot where there's just, you had to step into the water. There was no possible way, which is fine, but it was a little over my knee depth so it's probably up to that far above your knees, I guess. And it was hammering through, and the rocks were slippery, and I had my camera with me basically, and I was like, man, I'm going to get knocked into the water. And I don't really care if I get knocked in the water so much, but I do care if my camera goes into the water. So I was pretty precarious, but we managed to get across to the little bit of land that I was trying to get to so I could take the photos and videos that you see. Again, that would be an awesome place to go to when you had more time, and when it hadn't been hammering rain for an entire week, because it looks like a really nice place to go swimming and enjoy it there. But again, those waterfalls were pumping water over. I don't think you'd want to get in there and swim or go under that waterfall or anything like that with that much water. Maybe, I'm not sure, but yeah, it was good. It was nice. Some amazing waterfalls there. There's other places, obviously there's a lot more which I haven't been to, but far out. Some of the ones I've seen, they've been just so cool. There was a couple of groups of locals there, and that was kind of it. They were just going in, taking photos, enjoying themselves as well. But again, only white guy. But that one is kind of out of the way a little bit, so probably not a lot of people other than locals would go there, I would guess. But it's worth having a look at as well. So the last place of these sort of places I went to was kind of near to where she was staying. It's a place called Green Falls. It's where they go when they have brownouts or power outs and it's hot and they just want to cool off or relax. And it's quite well set up. There's tables and like sort of bungalow-y type things that you can rent, I believe, or maybe you can just use. I'm not sure, but there's a small waterfall that looks nice, and it goes into like a pool that you can swim in when there's not a lot of water going through, which there was a lot of water going through. But yeah, it's really cool. I really liked that place. I can see why, if you lived in that area and you had like no power for the day, or you were just looking for a nice place to go and relax in the shade and have a cool swim, that would be the place to go. Like it's beautiful and it's really relaxing there, and the water looks nice, and the water was nice. We waded through it at one point. It was really cool. And I think that was only like 30 pesos as well to get into. The only thing for that place is you're coming down the road, like the road that goes through the sort of the town there. There's a little town, and you sort of get to that. It's just like a side street. It's like a dirt road that comes off in a pretty steep little sort of thin road. Like it's not a road. It's like a dirt track, and it's really only big enough for one car going either way, or not one car going one way. If a car was coming the opposite way, I imagine that would cause issues because it's really not wide enough for two cars. And it's pretty long. I thought it was going to be like, 3 minutes in or 2 minutes in to get to the place, but it's maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes down this dirt track to get to Green Falls. And there's a few spots where it's very rocky and like loose rocks, but big loose rocks, and you're sort of bouncing around. I can imagine it'd be okay if you had a scooter or a motorbike or a four-wheel drive. If you're going in there in a Toyota Echo, or I think it was a Toyota Echo or something like that we were driving in, which is small and kind of not designed for off-roading, there was a few spots where I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it back up this hill. It's too rocky and loose. And we got in there. It was fine, obviously, and we got back out. It was fine, but it was not an optimal road for a small car or a low car, put it that way. But it's beautiful and definitely worth going to. I enjoyed it a lot. Anyway, Have a good life. Have a good day. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.